Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh! Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast. I am Sterling Holmes. No Adam Best this Freaky Friday. Going to keep it short, keep it tight, obviously. First preseason game is tomorrow for your Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Going to go through just a quick little pregame thought process. We will not be doing a pregame show here for Arrowhead Addict for the first preseason game. I will be doing a post-game breakdown, though, so you can check that out again right here on Arrowhead Addict. But I do want to give a few thoughts before tomorrow's game, so I thought, hey, let's hop on for a quick little 15-minute powwow. If you have any questions, any comments, feel free to drop them in the chat. So Andy Reid spoke, and he alluded to yesterday, hey, the starters will play the first quarter. Yeah, that's not happening. Unless the first quarter is the first drive, then sure, I believe it. But we know how this happens every year. Andy Reid, starters play the first quarter, they play the first drive. So that means you will see Patrick, probably Pacheco, Kelsey, and that also means the offensive line for only one drive. Last year, that was 6 snaps. That was the first drive. My concern or question here is, do they keep the offensive line or at least the left side out longer? Does Andy keep Josh Simmons and Kingsley Suamataia out there for more than just the first drive? Talking with Matt Derrick today of Chiefs Digest, he didn't think so. And the reason being, he has not seen Gardner Minshew get any run with the ones. So with Gardner Minshew getting no run with the ones, that alludes that he has not played at all with Josh Simmons or Kingsley Suamataia at left tackle, left guard. Okay? So if you're sticking with me here, well, they don't want to do that because there's a different snap cadence, different snap counts from Patrick to Gardner. So if the first drive is relatively successful and not just a 3-and-out, you're probably only going to see Josh Simmons and Kingsley at left guard for just the first drive. I'm not a fan. The reason why I say that, I do not know more than Andy Reid. I do not know more than the people who make these decisions. I understand that. That's my first caveat. But the point I'm making is last year we saw Kingsley Suamataia play 6 snaps game 1, and what was our takeaway in the preseason? Yeah, he looked pretty good. He looked fine. Looked solid preseason game 1. And then he ended up playing, it was about 2 drives. I think it was like 30-ish snaps total Kingsley did last year in the preseason. And our takeaway was, that's fine. He looks good, ready for week 1. I don't want to see Patrick out there for that long. I don't want to see Travis Kelce out there that long or Chris Jones or the likes. But Josh Simmons and Kingsley Suamataia this year at left tackle and left guard respectively, I do. I would like to see an extended outlook for those dudes. How does the Josh Simmons knee, handle, I guess, game 1? Josh Sweat, who destroyed the Chiefs in the playoffs last year in the Super Bowl for the Eagles, now in Arizona. Yeah, I'd like to see an extended look of how Sweat and Simmons go at it preseason game 1. I don't think, though, we're going to see that. So that's the first thing I wanted to at least put on everyone's radar, and at least where I'm at. Dog Peter says Pacheco could be traded at the deadline if Mitchell overtakes him for RB1 with their depth of running back. I'd be shocked. I don't think so. I'd like to see Elijah Mitchell get a extended run, but quite frankly, the stovetop's been a little quiet on the Elijah front, and we even heard the potential talking of, do the Chiefs during training camp cut downs or preseason cut downs take a look at a veteran free agent who gets released? That does not give me a whole bunch of confidence for how the Chiefs' RB room is lining up. Neil. What's up, Neil? Hopefully you're doing well and you played in that fun men's league golf event on Wednesday. Neil says, agree. The first drive is successful. They are done. Field goal or touchdown. I honestly think as long as it's not 3 and out, they'll be done. As long as it's not 3 and out, I think that the starters will only get in 1 drive. That's traditionally been the motto in this Andy Reid era. Neil said played 33 snaps in total last year during preseason. Like to see him and Simmons get more run this year, more time together in a live setting, build continuity. Yeah, Neil, that's you and I are on the complete exact same page in that regard. These guys are young. Kingsley's now playing a new position. He has not played guard. That's not what he did in college or really high school either. This is a completely different situation. So, yeah, I'd like to see Simmons and Kingsley get more run, even if the rest of the ones get taken out early preseason game 1. I see you're intrigued about the slot corner position. I am too. I don't know where Trent McDuffie is planning on playing, but I don't think he'll be in the slot in the preseason at all. Reason being is no Christian Fulton yet. Looks like there's a chance Christian Fulton could be back for preseason game 2, but more than likely he's at least going to play some, I would assume, before game 1 of the regular season. He was activated off the PUP list. So that leaves CRW, Christian Roland Wallace, who has been flashing. You know my thoughts? That was one of my intriguing picks last year for a guy to make the active Chiefs roster. Daniel Harms, myself, we both said Christian Roland Wallace will be our surprise pick to make the 53. He did. He's still looking pretty darn good right now in camp. We'll see where he goes. They're obviously are also having him play a little bit of safety. They're having CRW almost in that Kendall Fuller type of role. Little intriguing in that regard because that's what Shamari Connor does. Shamari Connor is a little bit of that slot corner and safety role, although full transparency, I think Shamari is much better as a safety than guarding quick guys in the slot. Personal thoughts there. PFF, for the most part, will also agree. I do think CRW is the better traditional slot corner, but I like the Chiefs trying to move him around even to safety at times. He looks like he is the Shamari Connor backup. So the slot corner position is definitely one to watch, but I do think it's between 2 guys right now. That's Shamari Connor. That is CRW. I do think there's a couple of interesting trade piece names. I know, obviously, earlier on, you were talking about Isaiah Pacheco, but I think an interesting trade piece name is one, Joshua Williams. We've been talking so much Josh Simmons, it just automatically came out. So pause. Even I freaked myself out there. Joshua Williams. Josh Williams has never lived up to some of the lofty expectations that were thrown on him. And at times he has been fine, but he is not finding a role here, or at least a starter's role at all in Kansas City. He is perpetually moving down the depth chart. Miami is in need of a cornerback. I think there's a chance you could see a Williams to Miami move at some point. I think that one stands out to me. A couple other probably minor moves as well. But that's the one that I think is the most intriguing or most likely situation that could happen is a Joshua Williams trade at some point in the preseason. I'm trying to think of any other names that stand out. Maybe it's Najee Johnson. If Najee Johnson stands out, we'll see what the breakdown at cornerback looks like. Again, no Christian Fulton, so who's going to be running with the ones? I'd assume it's going to be Jalen Watson. But again, I know people might make fun of this. I know people might make fun of me. But the Chiefs love Najee Johnson. They think that he was one of the starters before the ACL injury transpired a couple years ago. He did not look the same post ACL injury, but he spoke. I believe that was on Thursday. And he said this is the healthiest he's ever felt, even before the ACL injury. Now, it's always best season of your life year. That's going on right now at training camp and in preseason games. But I do think there's something there because the Chiefs have shown a lot of faith in Najee Johnson when at times I think fans, the media, we've not quite seen that. But there has to be a reason why. So I'm very intrigued to watch Najee Johnson in this particular game. I want to see how he looks now, a full year off from the ACL injury, the rehab, all of that. Because it took Tershawn Wharton about this long too, right? Remember when Tershawn Wharton, he tore his ACL. The year after that, he was just okay. Didn't seem like the same guy. Lost that juice. Then last year, he had a breakout season. And he said, I finally felt right from my rehab and injury. I'm wondering, I'm hoping, holding out a sliver of hope that could be the same for Najee Johnson. Lauren Shank says, hey, Sterling. Hey, man. What's your take on the 17 million-ish current cap space, maybe some extensions before week 1? Yeah, the name I would keep out on is obviously Trent McDuffie. You say, could Rice be extended before McDuffie? I don't think they're touching Rice yet. For both parties, I don't know why you would. You want to see how many games he's going to miss, because the more games he misses, the cheaper he's going to be. At least I would have to imagine. I think the Rice contract would be very confusing to try and navigate. I don't know what that contract's going to look like, because we know the talent's there, but we also know the injuries. And then with the off-the-field stuff, which there were some rumblings of that prior to him getting to Kansas City when he was down at SMU. Nothing concrete, but the rumblings were there. I am wondering what that contract would even look like. So I don't think Rice. I do think McDuffie would be the name, at least in my eyes, to watch. Of the 17 million, obviously that can be rolled over, which there's going to be some Mahomes maneuvering contract-wise next year, because this year he's around 28-ish million on the cap hit, and next year Mahomes is 78. I can pretty much guarantee you Patrick's not going to be playing on a $78 million cap hit next season. Shockingly, that's not the highest in the NFL next year. The highest is actually Deshaun Watson at over 80 million. Yeah, great contract, Browns, nice. So I think McDuffie, by the way, Lauren, for that question, would be the guy I would tab to look at. And again, potentially a RB veteran guy if they get released during the preseason. I don't know how strong of a grasp, let's say, Kareem Hunt or even Elijah Mitchell has right now on this roster. Rashard Smith has shown a ton of explosiveness and upside, but it's almost all been exclusively as a pass-catching running back, not as much on the ground. Something to keep in mind. Scott Peel, let's go. Let's go, Scott. I know I'm excited for preseason game 1. Preseason game 3, I'm bored by, and I'm ready for the season to roll around. Preseason game 2, I'm still excited for, but preseason game 1, I get stoked for. And the reason why I get so excited for preseason game 1, you actually get a good chance to see what the depth chart really looks like. We saw the unofficial depth chart be released, but that's not made by Andy Reid. That's made by people in the Chiefs, I don't want to say front office, but coaching staff. That could even be some of the Chiefs, not media members in what we do, but some of their folk, right? So you take that with a grain of salt. But when the second quarter rolls around, and if you're seeing Ashton Gelati in the second quarter playing, and you don't see FAU until the third, oh boy, that's bad news for FAU. If you see, let me think of a couple of other names. If you see Marlon Tuipulotu playing at all in the second quarter, that probably means, or even Fabian Lovett, they have a decent chance of making this roster. If you don't see them until the third quarter, that means they're third stringers, and the chance of them are probably a little slimmer. So like the Malik Herring, Fabian Lovett, Marlon Tuipulotu, those guys, when do they come into the game? That's intriguing. Cornerback room, obviously. Do you see Josh Williams in the second quarter or the third quarter? If it's the third quarter, that goes more along the lines of, well, he might be getting shipped out and traded to Miami at some point. Again, that's just something I think would be it behoove both parties. So just a couple things that I watch. That second quarter to me is really interesting. So for those watching at home, check out the second quarter, and we'll see and compare notes after the game. Again, I'll do the post-game show right here on Arrowhead Addict. Cliff Johnson. Cliff, hope you're doing well. I think they would extend Rice first, McDuffie's going to command top dollar, and rightfully so. I don't disagree with McDuffie conversation. I've been on record saying they should have done that before Sauce, Stingley, pretty much anyone, because once you wait, the next person just gets more. Better or not, whether folks think he's better than Stingley or not, and he's kind of same boat, you get paid more. That's just the nature of the game. No one thinks Joe Burrow outside of Cincinnati is better than Patrick, and even those people are lying to themselves. Yet Joe Burrow is $10 million more average annual value than Patrick, right? Patrick Mahomes' annual average value, 14th in the NFL right now. Yeah, shocking, right? It's going to get redone next year. That's the thought process, obviously. But as of now, the AAV for Patrick's contract, he is 14th AAV in the NFL. The next guy always gets paid, which means McDuffie, you're right, probably going to get paid more than Stingley, Surtain, Sauce, and the likes. I just don't know if I would touch the Rashee Rice situation. I don't know why his camp would either. Because right now the Chiefs would lowball him. As they should. I would. Wouldn't you? You have a guy who's been injured. You have a guy who has off-the-field rumblings prior to the NFL and then has this situation transpire. You're going to lowball him. So if you're Rice, you're probably not taking that. Although there might be some. We'll find out. Don't want to say it, actually. Just money's going to be tough on a rookie contract when you have to pay all the lawyer fees, all the retribution, all of that. It's difficult. But either way, I don't see the Rice contract happening right now unless it would be so Chiefs team friendly. And I don't know why Rice would do that at that moment. And I do wonder what his thought process is going to be once he does start getting into contract negotiation talks with him having to pay all the retribution and lawyer fees. Is he going to almost say, I need top dollar? I don't care if it's in Kansas City, but I had to spend so much money on my mistake. Am I going to have to go to the Panthers if they offer the most money for my services? I do wonder that to an extent. I don't know the man personally, so I can't speak for him, but I do wonder that could be a thought process because, at least in my eyes, that could make some sense. So that's why, again, I still think McDuffie was the guy that I would look at extending, or at least having the more serious conversations with right now, unless, again, Rice is willing to take a very, very team-friendly deal. Yeah, what a hideous job, Browns. My goodness. Cliff says, I'm curious to see how Sky Moore does, when and how long he plays. I think that one's interesting. Wide receiver breakdown, obviously. Because, one, does Rice and Brown, how much are they going to play? Brown, Hollywood, I don't think plays at all. How much does Jalen Royals play? Juju, Sky, Tyquan Thornton, and Nico Remigio. Because if Rice does get suspended to start the season, and the Chiefs do keep 6 wide receivers, you have to take Rice out of the equation now. You would have Worthy, Hollywood, Juju, Jalen. Then you would have 3 guys vying for 2 spots. You would have Sky Moore, Tyquan Thornton, and Nico Remigio. Nico is your best return man right now. But the difference is he could be almost kicked off the team by Brashard Smith if Brashard looks really good as a returner. What helps Nico is Brashard had a pinky injury, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was pinky. And I don't believe he's going to be returning punts or kicks in the first preseason game. Well, that actually is good news for Nico because that might be the best chance he makes his team because wide receiver 6, for the most part, is special teams only. And if you trust Brashard Smith to be your special team or your return man, well then, that might be Nico on the outside looking in. One thing I will say is you need 2 guys for kick returns. Is that Carson Steele? Is that Nico? I don't know. But I do think there's a lot of intriguing 49 through 53 as far as actual legitimate camp battles. A lot of that on special teams. So that's where I'm at. I think Remigio is not as safe as some people might think because Tyquan Thornton Oh boy. I might be more excited for him than anyone in a preseason game, outside of Josh Simmons and Kingsley. But as far as like the back end guys who might make the roster, Tyquan Thornton has been electric in training camp. Tyquan Thornton has been a revelation. What the Patriots thought they were getting when they drafted him in the second round. I will also point out from some Patriots folk, Tyquan Thornton has apparently done this before. Supposedly, Patriots media has released and talked about how every year Tyquan Thornton was a training camp stud, and then it never materialized in games. So I do think preseason is paramount for Tyquan Thornton. I think Sky Moore, more than anyone of that group, is on the outside looking in. Although the Chiefs value him, they trust him for some reason, and they like his attitude, and you don't have to worry about what he's doing. I think there's something to that he's still under contract. I wonder how much of his contract is still guaranteed as a second rounder. I don't have the number in front of me, but point still remains. I don't think Sky Moore is as out of the wide receiver conversation as I think a lot of folks probably think he is. Lawrence Shank says, Snead isn't McDuffie, but we draft and develop cornerbacks well. There's a very slim chance that the fifth year option him and then trade him. It's the same thing with center, though. Right? It was Rodney Hudson. It was Mitch Morse. It was, you're great, but then they get a first-team All-Pro. And that was different. Javarius Ward was great. L'Jarius Sneed was great. Then you get a first-team All-Pro and Trent McDuffie, and it's different. So they don't pay centers until they do. They don't pay cornerbacks until they do. I think McDuffie's different. I also think they've not hit on cornerbacks as recently as they once were. I think we are still thinking of all the guys they hit on, and right now, that is drying up. What's the last year for Williams? Last year for Watson? Last year for Najee Johnson? Christian Fulton's only on a 2-year deal, and he's already injured. So I think McDuffie is actually very, very, very important because after that, cornerback room's looking a little sparse. And Noah Williams, I hope he pans out. I'm rooting for the guy. We've not heard great things so far in regards to Noel. We're hearing Spags and all this. Just it's a big transition from college to the NFL, and looks like it might take a little longer for Noel. Again, doesn't mean that he's done for. It's a bust by any means. None of that. Just saying that I don't have high expectations this particular season for Noel Williams. So I do think that it's paramount that they get a deal done long-term with Trent McDuffie. But again, you're right. They do have the 5th-year option, then the franchise tag that more than likely would be those 2 years would be about the exact same amount you would probably pay him AAV. Actually cheaper because he's been a all-pro, not a pro bowler, which is the dumbest rule in the rookie CBA, all that. So because he's been an all-pro, not pro bowler, a la Mitchell Schwartz, his 5th-year option is actually cheaper than it would be if he was a pro bowler. Hilarious, I know. Sure that makes the Trent McDuffie very, very happy. So you actually could do that. You're right. All right. Not more that I really want to get into. I will break down the game post-game with all of you lovely folk. So anything you see from the game and want to talk about, join me right here on the Arrowhead Addict podcast and YouTube channel. We will break down the game after hopefully the Chiefs' second squad, the backups, wax the Cardinals. I will also point out the Cardinals are playing their starters, which is great. I love seeing that. And again, if I'm going to look at one more thing that's a little under the radar, I want to see how the running backs fare. The running back room has been tight. The running back room has not necessarily been outstanding in training camp. And it's nearly impossible to see how players fare running the football in training camp when you can't really tackle. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the run game operates with Pacheco, Elijah, and then also Rashard Smith on the ground because he has been great through the air. Appreciate everyone hanging out with me. Again, Sterling Holmes. You can follow me on the X at HomestretchKC. Appreciate all you guys hanging out here, all of the comments as well. It's been a while, but we can finally say it. Let's go, Chiefs.